This is Sporta episode 15-ish, I believe. And again, from the confines of my friendly car, as you can see people leaving kind of there. Um, Again, another beautiful night here at the hockey arena, getting ready to go in and play in a little bit. But I did want to run a quick episode of This is Sporta due to the fact that this has been a crazy week for sports with the Major League Baseball lockout, which we will begin with because, as you know, I'm not big into baseball, but I am into drama. The Major League Baseball owners have implemented a lockout after what was reported to be a 7-minute session with the MLBPA. 7 minutes was enough to decide no mas, and they wanted to lock out Major League Baseball. I feel that this is a huge mistake. Huge mistake for Major League Baseball. So, what does a lockout mean and what does it entail? Well, it halts everything in Major League Baseball. It could mean no spring training. It could mean no 162 games. It could mean a condensed season. It could mean no season. So, what are they fighting about? Well, essentially, it comes down to economics. Uh, Baseball essentially has a weird contract structure where you may not see your first free agency until you're damn near 30. And they want these players to be paid better earlier, better contract deals, better monetary values. They're the guys that are coming out at 29, 30 that are testing free agency with all these analytics and all this other stuff. Their numbers aren't as great, yada, yada, yada. They're not making the money they want to make. They're also fighting for minor leaguers and future stars of the game and things of that nature. And, you know, the owners are the owners and they want money for themselves. And they want, I think, a 14-team playoff, 7 in each league, and then the top team would get a bye week, and then the division winners would choose who they play in terms of wild card. Now, I think that's a little ridiculous, but it is what it is. We will see what comes of it. It really. I'm about to sneeze. I'm trying not to. There's okay. So there are concessions to be made on both sides. I do think we see something probably closer to spring training. As for free agency, it does put a halt to free agency with some big names still out there to be grabbed. Uh, right now, the Texas Rangers have made a huge dent in their payroll by picking up Corey Seager and Marcus Semien. This is huge for the Texas Rangers. They have a lot of money to spend, and they're trying to do it, and they're trying to build a contender right away, which is one way to do it. And I don't blame them for doing it that way. The Mariners look to be doing the same thing, picking up Cy Young winner Robbie Ray of the Toronto Blue Jays. Now, living in Washington, I hear it ever since he got picked up. Oh, this is huge. This is big. This is big. First of all, slow your roll. Robbie Ray, before he was a Cy Young winner, was a 4 point something ERA pitcher. All right. He was a sub 500 pitcher. He didn't have a great record. He had a great year, which got him the Cy Young. This can either be a big deal or a big bust for the Seattle Mariners and the money that they're putting into Robbie Ray and hoping he is who he is. Now, I'm not trying to rain on their parade. I'm not trying to shit in their cornflakes, piss in their cornflakes, whatever. I just think you need to be realistic about your expectations and say, hey, look, who was this guy before last year? Right? You threw money at this guy for 1 year. Uh to me, it is what it is. I think it's a good pickup, but I'm not a Mariners fan and I'm not going crazy like, oh, this makes us automatic World Series contenders, because it doesn't. He could have a shit year. He could have one good year in Toronto and go back to being a guy who was giving up 5 runs a game. You know what I mean? Uh I don't think that's the case. I do think he is a very good pitcher, but we will see. We'll see. He's a young guy. He still has a lot of life left in him. We saw Max Scherzer take a deal with, I believe, the Mets, who now have DeGrom and Scherzer as their 1-2. They look to be trying to rebuild there, and Scherzer, old guy. I don't know how much he has left. Said the biggest reason he didn't re-sign with the Dodgers is because they limited him to a pitch count, which he didn't like. He wanted to go long and hard into the game. I can't blame the Dodgers. They were trying to save his arm, especially with Kershaw being out and being injured. I get it, but at the same time, you have to kind of step back, and if that player wants to go, let him go. We saw what it did in the World Series, not this past season, but before, with the Rays and the Dodgers, and Blake Snell dealing a hell of a game and gives up one hit and gets pulled because of analytics, and it ruins their attitude towards the franchise and the coach, and boom, he was gone. So again, MLB lockout still with some big names available. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I don't expect to see much headway until about spring training time, possibly a little bit earlier, late January. I think they're going to take the winter breaks, Christmases and the holidays, New Year's, and then they will probably go back to the drawing board and see what they can bang out. But until then, we won't have much in the way of Major League Baseball, thank God. In terms of MLS, man, a lot of my picks are out. The Sounders, wow, dominated a very, very good team. And they held on and went to penalty kicks and lost it in penalty kicks. They looked horrible. They dominated the game, and then Stefan Fry couldn't make a block, and the one block he makes in the penalties, he came off the line early. Like, where do you go from there? Brian Schmetzer, I felt, didn't put the right lineup out there to begin the game, and this is like the second postseason he's done this. He's a very good coach, but when it comes to these big playoff games, he seems to be second guessing his own abilities. I haven't paid much attention to the MLS right now, as it is coming down to the wire in the F1 season. The F1 season had a week off last week after a wonderful race from Qatar with Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen taking 1-2. And Hamilton cutting into Verstappen's points lead, and yet Mercedes losing their grip on the constructors title. It's this season is winding down with what we call the penultimate race this weekend in Saudi Arabia, and next week in Yas Marina. Now, to be fair, I'm going to lay this out. Yes, the championship could be won this week, but it would take an 18-point gap, which means Max Verstappen would, let's say, first or second, essentially, and Lewis Hamilton would have to fall out of the points completely. And I don't see that happening. So I'm going to go on with assuming the championship will go into next week and finish at Yas Marina. But this week's race is in Saudi Arabia. It is the first F1 race in Saudi Arabia on the Jeddah circuit. It's different. This track is close to Monza in terms of speed. In fact, you can stay on your gas, your throttle, 79% of the track. And this is huge for Mercedes, because Mercedes have that speed that is very hard to catch up to. So this bodes very well for Mercedes in terms of cutting into the championship points and gaining more and expanding their lead in the constructors if Lewis and Valtteri Bottas can manage good finishes. They will be starting at P1 and P2 for the race tomorrow. What that means is position one, position two. So they lock out the front row. Max Verstappen is third. Charles Leclerc from Ferrari is going to be fourth. And Checo Sergio Perez, the other Red Bull, is going to be right behind his partner in Max Verstappen. This track is a closed-in street circuit, so very little wiggle room to pass. Very easy to make mistakes, as was seen by today with Max Verstappen in qualifying. He was on pace for the fastest lap and to take pole when he hit a wall from a very minute error. But I think he'll learn from it. I think he will push. And I think this race is really going to come down to the start and the very first turn. if if Max gets a good start and he can somehow get around at least one of these Mercedes in the first turn, possibly second turn, before it really narrows down, I do believe that he will have a chance at first, possibly second place. It really does depend. Like I said, it's a tough circuit. I'm bringing it up right now, right there. As you can see, there's a lot of straight line speed there. You see a little curves, some chicanes, but most of that track is going to be at full throttle. There are, I believe, 2 DRS zones in this track, where if you're going to be within 1 second of the guy behind you, your DRS will enable, giving you about 15 kilometers per hour speed. I don't know, man. I look from turn 27 to turn 1. That's just straight line speed. These Mercedes are going to have a fantastic race. Even if you look at, let's say, I mean, look at turn 14 all the way to turn 27, which is kind of like that half hairpin look. There's a lot of little curves, but nothing major, and you could probably take those at full throttle to eased off just a bit, and it's crazy because I don't know how anybody other than a Mercedes will win this race. I don't, unless barring a major accident, which has happened because Lewis Hamilton in Monaco kind of had that same thing. It's a street circuit. It's closed in. It's very narrow. It's very, very minute errors can cost you big on this track. I watched some of the drives that they did on free practice and the virtual tour of the track. It's pretty cool. It is a really cool track. It's really dope to watch under the lights. I'm expecting a good race, but I'm expecting a Mercedes dominant race. I would like to see maybe some tire and some pit undercutting to help Red Bull kind of get in there. But I just don't. I don't see Max getting. I mean, I can see him getting first. I mean, I absolutely can. But realistically, with the speed of the Mercedes and them locking out that front row, realistically, I can see Max getting second, barring, you know, accidents, injuries, pits, things of that nature, things that are not completely out of his control. But it should be a fun race. Sunday, I believe it's at 9:30 a.m. on the Pacific time, so whatever your time zone is. Tune in. Again, I don't think the championship's going to be decided this week. And like I said, unless barring a major accident, I mean, heaven forbid Hamilton wrecks and his car just can't go anymore and Verstappen comes in second, he clinches. You know what I mean? Like, I don't see that happening, but it is a possibility. Watching these races is easier than watching a football game. It's not as long. It's more exciting than watching a soccer game. So if you can watch soccer, you can watch F1. It's better than watching NASCAR. Watch them just go around in circles. Um, give it a chance. Give it a watch. This circuit will be fun to watch because it is a street circuit. It's narrow. It's not going to be great for passing, but it'll be great for speed. So again, Sunday, 9:30 a.m., Saudi Arabia, which I do want to mention that Lewis Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel have both come out and kind of said that they're not happy that the race is there due to the Saudi Arabia's horrible human rights issues that they have. Uh, Lewis Hamilton is wearing the rainbow color helmet again in support of the LGBTQ community. Sebastian Vettel had a T-shirt, had a women's set up a women's track race, which was really cool for these guys. I'm proud that they are standing up to their sport in places that are giving them money, because that's what this is. The Saudi Arabia, the Qatar, all these are just money grabs for F1, because we know that they don't give a damn about the human rights in these countries, which is more than I can say for the NBA in China and their human rights, and LeBron James and all those guys keeping their mouths shut about what's going on in China in terms of human rights. So bravo to Lewis Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel and all these drivers that are raising awareness despite where they are. And Hamilton came out and said, I don't feel comfortable here, but I have no choice. I mean, you could sit out the race, but I get it. You're in a championship race. It's not like you're middle of the pack, because if you were middle of the pack, you could sit out the race because you have no shot at a title and just kind of take that protest. But I applaud him for speaking up on it. I applaud Sebastian Vettel for taking a stand the way he did. I would like to see the F1 community do more in terms of, if you're going to have these races in these places, you probably should do something to better and help the people and humans that are being discriminated against and tortured in these countries. So bravo to Lewis Hamilton. He's a classy guy, humble guy, 7-time world champ, going for his 8th. Again, one of my favorite drivers on the track. He's great, and I love what he's doing. So yeah, F1, catch it this weekend. Quick jump into Premier League soccer. My squad, Manchester United, have parted ways with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. They had Michael Carrick manage a couple games, and he went 3-0. He is stepping away from the club because the club is bringing in, I believe his name is Ralf Rangnick. He's a 63-year-old German who has signed a weird contract. It's a 6-month coaching contract, so till the end of the season, and then a 2-year consulting contract. Sorry, my throat's getting dry. But, that's so regardless of how he does in terms of management, he's still going to be there on a consulting basis. So they believe in what he's going to do. And I think he may take over Ed Woodward's job because Woodward is, I think, leaving at the end of the season, or at least that was the talk. He may have changed his mind. Who knows? And then there's talk of Mauricio Pochettino leaving PSG to come coach Manchester United at the end of the season for next year. Manchester United currently sits 7th. They need 4th for Champions League next season. They are 6 points behind with 1 game in hand. And West Ham holds that 4th position. It's Manchester City, Liverpool, Chelsea, 1, 2, 3 right now. And West Ham United, who they're a mid-tier club, so they're playing above their means, and they're playing very well. So it's exciting to see, but Arsenal, Tottenham, and Manchester United are right below. And Manchester United need to do something quick, because this team is too talented to be where they are. They should be fighting for a title, and they're not. And they're still in the Champions League. I still believe they have the talent to win the Champions League. It's going to be hard to do. You know what I mean? So, it'll be interesting to see what happens in the next few weeks and how Ragnick takes control of the reins. He will be getting a nice little $100 million transfer budget. It'll be interesting to see how he uses it and what players he plans on bringing in. So I will keep you updated on that. On our final topic today, NFL. We have been away for the last couple of weeks. Currently on my picks, I am 28-19 on the season. I had a bad week or two, and then the past 2 weeks I went 4-2 and 5-1. So yeah, I'm sitting 28-19. Real quick, straight up. I have the Rams versus the Jags. I'm taking the Rams straight up. I'm taking the Cardinals over the Bears, and I'm taking the Colts over the Texans straight up. Against the points, I'm taking the Chargers +3 against Cincinnati. The Philadelphia Eagles -5 against the Jets means they have to win by 5, and the Seattle Seahawks +3 over the San Francisco Giants. Now, this is a tough one for me, but I believe Russell Wilson and the Seahawks have played awful the past couple games. I think they turn it around here. They don't have to win, but they got 3 points to play with, 3.5 actually. They got 3.5 points to play with. It's in Seattle. I believe they keep it close. If they lose, I believe it's a close game. I think they win, and that's why I'm taking that game. But the NFL the past couple of weeks, we just saw Thursday, the Cowboys beat the Saints, and Taysom Hill had a horrible final quarter. Taysom Hill's not a quarterback. I'm sorry. Taysom Hill is garbage. He's a gadget guy. We saw he can run the Wildcat. Fantastic. He's a runner. He can't throw the ball. And don't give me, his finger was hurt. He's never been a great passer, man. He's not. And for Sean Payton and those guys to waste money on him was a joke. And I feel bad for Saints fans. To go from Drew Brees to him, huge downgrade. To go from Drew Brees to Jameis Winston, huge downgrade. If I'm New Orleans right now, I'm talking to the Seahawks about Russell Wilson. Regardless if you think he's on the market or not. Hey, man, what's it going to take to get Russ down in New Orleans? Okay? Hey, Rodgers, what's it going to take to get you to New Orleans? These conversations have to be had. New Orleans are horrible. Trevor Siemian played a couple weeks. Didn't look great, but didn't look bad. Looked bad. It's just they don't have that guy anymore. And Jameis Winston, he turned around the turnovers, but he's still not that guy. But the Cowboys got back on the winning track. Zeke doesn't look the same. And the Cowboys haven't said it, but I think something's wrong with Zeke. And I think Tony Pollard needs to be their lead back right now. Amari Cooper obviously was tired from COVID. It's going to be a week or two before he gets his win back, and before he can really do Amari Cooper things. So in Dak, I don't count Dak as an elite quarterback. I think he's in that tier right below. I believe Dak has to have everything perfect to win. He has to have an offensive line. He has to have A and B receiver. He has to have a good running game. Tom Brady was never like that. Tom Brady is elite. Tom Brady never had, other than Randy Moss, A and B receivers. Tom Brady did it with C and D receivers. He did it with a tight end, right? Never had a fantastic run game. Had a couple guys early in his career. He's never needed anything perfect to win and be the quarterback that he is. Dak absolutely is. When Zeke was suspended those games a few years ago, Dak didn't play well. And we saw last year before Dak got injured, he had everything. He had the receivers, had the run game, had the offensive line, and he was doing really well. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I'm in my car, right? These lights. So I don't think Dak's elite. I think he's that tier right below. But yeah, some big games this weekend. Again, Seahawks Niners. Not big for the Seahawks, other than get win on the winning track, but big for the Niners to get playoff hopes, implications, stuff like that. The Rams have to beat the Jags. Rams are on a losing streak. They have to beat the Jags to stay in contention for the NFC West, and hopefully in the obviously the wild card race. Um, the Chiefs this weekend are 7-4. They look like they're turning things around, and I believe they're playing Denver this weekend, and they're almost 10-point favorites. So the Chargers play the Bengals. That's a huge game for both those teams in terms of division and playoffs. So it's going to be a fun NFL weekend. Sunday. Tune in. Antonio Brown suspended, vaccination card, like craziness, right? That's why this episode is called episode 15 craziness. Yeah, like been on like 25 minutes. Yeah, I'm not trying to go long here. I'm trying to think if there's anything else major that I missed. No. What you guys can do for me though, follow that address right there, click those links, hit those links, like, subscribe. It has all my links. You want beard care products, 20% off, that's there. You want Raise energy drinks, boom, boom. Raise energy drinks, discounts, boom. Healthy, BCAAs, everything there. My YouTube podcast, everything, Amazon Music. Follow This Is Sport, like, subscribe, notify, all that good stuff. I'm going to try to get, like I said, I'm trying to do this on a normal basis, but, I work in retail. It's Christmas time. It's tough. Hockey, like 3 days a week. Kids, everything. I'm still trying to do this when I can, and that's why I'm trying to fit in these little blurbs here and there and really, really kind of do what I can. And that's why, like, my brain is so jumbled right now. Like, this was my notepad today. Like, was a napkin because I left my shit at home. So I know I have more to talk about. I'll talk about it later at another time. But until then, guys, be excellent to each other. Rate, review, subscribe. Go get all my stuff. If you're into podcasts, not just necessarily sports, check out Films to Be Buried With. It's fantastic. The Will Kane podcast is another good one. That meshes sports and news very well. If you're far left leaning, don't listen to Will Kane. You're not going to like him. If you're kind of in that middle centrist, right, it's a good show. I don't normally get political, but I tend to be more centrist little right. You know what I mean? More than I am left. But I love Will Kane for his insight and his take. And I do that with a lot of people. Like, your politics are your politics. Entertaining things are entertaining things. But Films to Be Buried With is fantastic. It's the Brett Goldstein. If you don't know who Brett Goldstein is, he's the if you've watched the Ted Lasso show on Apple TV, he plays Roy Kent. But he's a comedian, and so he does his podcast, Films to Be Buried With. It's fantastic. I wish I could go on that show one time and talk film, because I know this is called This Is Sport. I just one episode. I think what I'm going to do is just talk movies and go from there. But until then, guys, I love you guys. Thank you for the support. Yeah, hit the links down there. Rate, review, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. I love you guys. I'll see you when I can. And remember, this is